What if one tiny seed sitting quietly in your kitchen could help lower blood sugar spikes, improve insulin response, and reduce the metabolic stress that pushes the pancreas closer and closer to exhaustion? Most people with type 2 diabetes are told to fear sugar, count carbs, and depend only on medication. But very few are told that some foods can work in the background like silent metabolic allies. Not magic, not akuri, but real nutritional support that may help the body function better from the inside out. And today, we are talking about one of the most underrated seeds in the world of blood sugar control: flaxseed. Human trials have found that flaxseed can reduce post-meal glucose spikes, and meta-analyses suggest it may improve fasting blood sugar, insulin resistance, and, in some studies, HbA1c, especially in people with type 2 diabetes. At the same time, research on diabetes remission shows that when metabolic stress on the body is reduced, beta cell function in the pancreas can improve. That matters because the pancreas is where insulin is made. So stay with me, because by the end of this video, you will understand what flaxseed actually does inside the body, why it may help protect pancreatic function, the best way to use it, and the biggest mistake people make when they eat it. Topic 1. Why the pancreas gets overworked in type 2 diabetes. To understand why flaxseed matters, we first need to understand what happens in type 2 diabetes. In the beginning, the pancreas often still makes insulin. The problem is that the body stops responding to it well. This is called insulin resistance. Imagine the pancreas as a worker forced to shout louder and louder because the cells are no longer listening. Over time, this constant pressure can wear down the insulin-producing beta cells. Blood sugar stays elevated longer, inflammation increases, and excess fat can build up in places it does not belong, including the liver and pancreas. This creates a vicious cycle. The harder the pancreas works, the more exhausted it becomes. Research on type 2 diabetes remission shows that improving this metabolic overload can help beta cell function recover, especially earlier in the disease process. That is why the goal is not just eat less sugar. The goal is to reduce the daily stress placed on blood sugar control. And this is where flaxseed enters the picture. Not as a miracle cure, but as a practical food that may help calm down that internal metabolic storm. A simple way to picture this is to think of flaxseed as a speed bump for glucose. Instead of blood sugar racing into the bloodstream all at once, digestion may slow down, absorption may become steadier, and the pancreas may not need to react so aggressively. Topic 2. The real reason flaxseed stands out: flaxseed is rich in soluble fiber, lignans, and plant omega-3 fats, especially alpha-linolenic acid. That combination is one reason researchers keep paying attention to it in metabolic health studies. Fiber can slow how quickly food leaves the stomach and how fast glucose enters the blood. That alone can make a big difference after meals. In a randomized crossover clinical trial in men with type 2 diabetes, taking 15 grams of ground flaxseed before breakfast reduced the post-meal glucose response. The peak glucose rise fell by 17%, and the 2-hour glycemic response area fell by 24%. That is a striking result for such a simple, inexpensive food. Meta-analyses also suggest flaxseed supplementation may improve fasting, blood sugar, and insulin resistance markers. And one 2023 meta-analysis reported a significant reduction in HbA1c in people with type 2 diabetes, especially those whose blood sugar was poorly controlled. Another review concluded flaxseed seems to improve glycemic control variables in prediabetes and type 2 diabetes, though researchers still want larger, better designed trials. This is why flaxseed is more than just a trendy topping. It is one of the few seeds with human clinical evidence directly tied to blood sugar outcomes in type 2 diabetes. Topic 3. Can it really rebuild the pancreas? Here's the truth. Now let's deal with the big claim. Honestly, can flaxseed literally rebuild the pancreas? In humans, the evidence does not show that eating flaxseed alone regenerates the pancreas in a dramatic, guaranteed way. That would be an overstatement. What the science does suggest is more nuanced and in some ways, more encouraging. Studies on type 2 diabetes remission show that pancreatic beta cell function can improve when metabolic stress is lowered, especially when excess fat in the liver and pancreas falls. In other words, metabolic beta cells are not always permanently gone. They can become suppressed, dysfunctional, or overwhelmed, and some function may return when the internal environment improves. Where does flaxseed fit in? Flaxseed may support a better metabolic environment by reducing glucose surges, improving insulin sensitivity, and possibly lowering inflammatory and oxidative stress signals. Animal and mechanistic studies suggest flaxseed compounds may help protect pancreatic tissue and beta cells, but those findings are not the same as proving full pancreatic regeneration in humans. So the accurate message is this: flaxseed may help reduce the burden on the pancreas and support better metabolic conditions that favor improved function. That is powerful, even if it is not a miracle headline. Topic 4. How flaxseed may lower blood sugar throughout the day. One of the most dangerous parts of type 2 diabetes is not just fasting blood sugar. It is the repeated spike after breakfast, lunch, dinner, and snacks. Every surge acts like friction inside the body, putting stress on blood vessels, nerves, and organs. Flaxseed may help in several ways. First, the fiber slows digestion. Second, the gel-forming quality of the fiber may reduce the speed of carbohydrate absorption. Third, flaxseed's bioactive compounds may improve how cells respond to insulin. Some reviews also point to anti-inflammatory and antioxidant effects, which matter because chronic inflammation and oxidative stress are deeply involved in diabetes progression. Think of it like this: when your meals are absorbed more slowly, your pancreas does not have to slam on the insulin pedal all at once. That softer landing may help the body stay more stable. Less chaos, less overreaction, more control. This is especially important in the morning. Many people with insulin resistance start the day with a breakfast that looks harmless but hits the bloodstream like a wave. Adding ground flaxseed before or with breakfast may help blunt that effect, according to the clinical trial we discussed earlier. Topic 5. The best way to eat it for real benefits here is where many people get it wrong. They buy whole, sprinkle a tiny amount on food, and expect dramatic results. But whole flax seeds often pass through the digestive system without being fully broken down. For better absorption, ground flaxseed is usually the smarter choice. A practical amount often studied is around 15 to 16 grams per day, which is roughly 1 to 1.5 tablespoons, though needs can vary. In one trial, 15 grams before breakfast improved post-meal glucose in men with type 2 diabetes. A more recent study also reported improved glycemic and lipid profiles with 16 grams daily for 3 months in patients with uncontrolled type 2 diabetes. Here are easy ways to use it. Mix ground flaxseed into plain yogurt with cinnamon. Add it to oatmeal, especially if the meal contains fruit. Blend it into a smoothie with unsweetened milk and berries. Stir it into vegetable soup after cooking. Mix it with eggs or savory breakfast bowls. One important tip: because flaxseed is high in fiber, increase it gradually and drink enough water. Too much too fast can cause bloating or digestive discomfort. Also, people taking medications for diabetes should monitor closely because improving diet and fiber intake may affect glucose readings over time. That is not a bad thing, but it does mean changes should be handled carefully. So here is the big takeaway. Flaxseed is not a cure for type 2 diabetes, and it is not a guaranteed way to regenerate your pancreas overnight. But the science does suggest something very important. This humble seed may help reduce blood sugar spikes, improve insulin sensitivity, and create a healthier internal environment that takes pressure off the pancreas. And when the pancreas is under less stress, the body may have a better chance to recover some function, especially when flaxseed is combined with broader lifestyle changes. That is why foods like flaxseed matter. Not because they are magic, but because small daily choices can quietly reshape metabolism. One better breakfast, one steadier glucose response, one less spike, one more step toward protecting your nerves, your eyes, your kidneys, your heart, and your energy. If this video helped you see flaxseed in a whole new way, make sure to like this video, subscribe to Healthy Fruits, and share this with someone living with blood sugar problems. And in the comments, tell me this: have you ever tried flaxseed before? And how would you add it to your daily routine?